Good morning. Welcome back to the Headwaters of the Kamal. I'm Mindy Bonine. And Josh is in Mexico City today enjoying, hopefully Josh, you enjoy yourself. And you watch this video, please, and tell me how I'm doing. We are going to do a short video today. We're just going to do a quick update of our excavations so far, and we're going to do a quick interview with one of our team members, a graduate student here, and ask her some questions about her career and what she chose. But first we'll get into sort of block updates. We are currently in block C. We have our little sort of dome-shaped tent up. And so far it has survived the rainstorm last night, so so hopefully it'll continue to serve us well until the end of our excavations, which will probably be sometime in March. We have just finished excavating out a tiny little hearth feature. This block has lots of little hearth features, and we just found another one. We just pulled that out a little while ago. And Jason over here is digging down to the next level and continuing to find burned rocks. So that will probably be turning into yet another feature. Probably a discard is what we're guessing at this point, but we'll know a little bit more as things get revealed. Block A is continuing to chug along. We have several layers open right now. Sort of documenting sort of the layers of occupation. We are sort of staggering it like a stair step to be able to sort of display the different layers of occupation in that level. We're almost down to, we're about 1.3 meters down in the lowest part of that block below the ground surface. We're going to continue to go down probably till at least 1.5, and then we'll see what comes out of that. So we're going to keep working on that as the weeks progress. Block D is our deep block, our 4x8, which is currently we're getting some additional shoring material to be able to shore up the other side. So we excavated half of it down to almost 3 meters. We're about 20 centimeters shy of 3 meters below the ground. That's really quite deep. So we need to put in some additional shoring to be able to stabilize the walls. We've done half of that, and then once we get that stabilized, we're going to sort of decide whether or not we're going to keep going down until we see if we can find the water table or another cultural zone underneath it. And then we'll move over to the other half and excavate that down as well. So it's kind of the state of things right now. We kind of are in a sort of transition zone between finding a whole lot of burned rock features, digging those out, and trying to see what's underneath it. So we're kind of in an exploratory phase right now, sort of just digging down the levels and seeing what we can find. So that's kind of the state of things for this week. We'll come back next week and see if we can find anything really cool to show you. But right now we're going to go ahead and move on to our interview. So yeah, you want to come here? Okay. So this is one of our team members, Emily. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? So,
I'm Emily McQuestion. I work for the Center for Archaeological Studies at Texas State University. I'm a graduate student there.
So how many years do you have before you graduate? Or should I say, how many years are you?
I have less than a year.
You have less than a year. So you're working on your master's thesis right now?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm done with coursework.
So can you tell us what it's about, really briefly?
Sure. My master's thesis is on radiocarbon dating. And specifically, I'm looking at radiocarbon dates from the lower Pecos Canyon lands of Texas, which overlaps into Mexico as well, so it's a border region. And I'm making a database of the radiocarbon dates and then putting those to use to address archaeological questions.
Cool. Are you from the region?
I'm from Austin. So.
You're from Austin, okay. So what got you interested in archaeology?
I guess as a kid, I would find artifacts, and so that sort of put on the radar that, there were people here before, and there is like material culture left on the landscape. And then at college, I was interested in anthropology, and in the anthropology subdisciplines, archaeology was the one that just was most interesting to me. I guess.
More so than cult. So the other three in anthropology is cultural anthropology, linguistics, and physical anthropology. So cultural anthropology is where, when you see all those video footage of
living
people and their life ways and things like that. When it's different than sociology, you're studying yourself, but in cultural anthropology you're studying other cultures. And then physical anthropology is ancient humans studying it. So they also go out and dig in the dirt, but they dig in certain areas of the world where you find the most evidence of ancient humans and the development of humans over
hundreds
of thousands of years. So we deal with thousands of things that are thousands of years old. They deal with things that are hundreds of thousands of years old. And then linguistics is, as you would expect to be, is about studying different languages and how languages have changed over time. So anthropology is one of those sort of, or archaeology is a subdiscipline of anthropology as a whole, and so we study the sort of cultures that aren't living anymore, but are not as old as the sort of ancient proto hominids or proto humans.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to school? So you grew up in Austin.
I grew up in Austin. I went to Austin Community College, and then transferred to the University of Texas at Austin, got my undergraduate degree there, and then currently I'm at Texas State University. So yeah, Texas State has a pretty good program. They kind of focus a lot on CRM, the CRM spectrum of the discipline. So they it's practical.
Yes, it is.
And there's a lot of Texas archaeology that's done there.
Yes, so they do a lot of, and case in point, your master's work is on the Lower Pecos. So that's great.
Part of the reason why I went there. It was the Texas focus.
Okay, so why the Lower Pecos as opposed to other parts of Texas?
I got into that sort of by happenstance. I took a job with the Ancient Southwest Texas Project, which is a professor at Texas State University, Dr. Steve Black's project. So I worked for him, or I interned for him and then worked for him for 2 seasons before I even started the graduate program.
Oh, okay.
So he's my advisor, and it was very easy to just transition into that. Yeah.
Was that your first archaeology job?
No.
So what was your first?
My first was a Student Conservation Association internship.
Okay.
11 years ago, in California, working for the Forest Service.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's see. So your role in this project is, I guess
I'm a field technician, so I get to do the fun digging in the dirt part of the work.
Yeah. So yeah, we are the ones that kind of stand over and say, do this, go here, dig that, screen this, and then they're the ones that actually sort of get down and actually. The great thing about being the tech is that you actually do the finding. You find the stuff. We're the ones that have to figure out what it all means, but they're the exciting ones that get to find it. So, we've been talking many times, sort of not necessarily here on the video blog, but sort of we chit chat while we're out here working. And one of the great things about doing archaeology is that it is really kind of more of a multidisciplinary field, because we're dealing with studying people and how people used to live. We include all different aspects of sort of topics that people have been involved with, all the way from science and technology to culture and art and sort of the creative arts and science, technology, and then all the social sciences and everything that comes in between. So in your work, in your master's work, do you include any other of these other disciplines in what you're doing, or you kind of just stick with archaeological practices as we know them?
My thesis is much more sort of physics, chemistry, and statistics based than I dreamed that it would be. So yeah, mine is pretty narrowly focused on radiocarbon dating, and I get to work with people who do things like identify plant remains, ancient plant remains, stuff like that, but I'm not the one who actually gets to do that. But I definitely rely heavily on other people for like particular analyses.
Yeah, we've talked a few times on the video blogs about calling in experts in different fields to come in and help us with our analyses, and it sounds like you're doing the same thing with your project as well. So, and statistics. So which I know that you're dealing with a lot, and Brian's dealing with a lot as well. So that's the super sciencey part of archaeology is dealing with statistical analysis and percentages and averages, and we come up with equations. Believe it or not, there are equations that we deal with to be able to sort of map out behavior and how it tracks over time. So, and let's see, what's your favorite part about being an archaeologist? What do you like the best?
Favorite part?
Yeah.
I really enjoy that it's a continual learning process. You never know it all. Like, there's always more to learn, and that's why we're doing it. And so that keeps it interesting, because you're not just going to the same day job over and over again. You're constantly getting to go new places and learn new things.
So what's the hardest part about doing it? That's the good part. What's the hard
hardest
part?
I mean, there's so many different kinds of hardest parts. There's that I've been wearing the same wet boots while backpacking for 9 days, hard part. And then there's, I guess, for me, something that I struggle with is other people's perceptions of what archaeology is and trying to relate what I'm doing to other people. So it's great that there's people viewing these videos and, you know, trying to learn about what we're doing.
What's something about archaeology that most people might not know that you would like to tell them?
Hard one. Skip that one.
You want to skip that one? Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna ask you. All right,
Okay.
then I'm gonna ask you the question that we all get asked. What was the most coolest thing that you found?
Okay. The coolest thing that I found, I think, was working in the Lower Pecos Canyon lands. There's really incredible preservation because there's these huge dry rock shelters. So when we say dry rock shelters, we mean water isn't really getting in there, so the preservation is incredible. And the coolest thing that I got to find was dried human poop. It's, you know, a lot of people never get to find that in their
No,
careers.
that's
And
absolutely true.
It's very data rich. You can learn a lot. You can get DNA from it. You can look at what people were eating. It's a pretty cool thing to find.
So, like, since I focus on historic archaeology too, one of the things that historic archaeologists really like to dig is a privy. Because that, again, it's one of those, it's simultaneously data rich, it has a lot of stuff in it, and it stacks like stratigraphy. You never thought about that before. It does, it totally stacks, and so you can go and dig down and you can get, you know, the early, middle, late.
I haven't gotten to do that.
I've never gotten to do that,
someday.
So it's very rare, particularly in Texas. It's very rare because all that stuff just sort of disappears. I've excavated many a ranch site, and we've been looking. We look for the privy, and we can't find it because it just kind of gets wiped off the landscape. After 150 years, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me see.
Emily, what's the coolest thing you found here on this project?
I think the coolest things I've found here are bone tools. To me, that's pretty cool because those are less common and less well understood than stone tools. And bone just doesn't preserve as well, so finding that is kind of special. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is. And there's evidence that they used bone for a lot of different tools that we just don't have
as
much information about. So I think I heard once that it was like archaeologists excavate out 5% of what ancient culture actually used on a daily basis. I mean, it's really small. You know, despite all the, you know, wealth of artifacts that are coming out of sites like this one in particular, we're finding still only a very small percentage of the sort of equipment that the people were actually putting their hands on and using and discarding and so we're just interpreting based off of a very tiny little bit. So I heard through the grapevine it was like as low as 5%. So okay. That's all my questions. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Hooray! It's it for our video blog today. Come back next week, and we'll have some more updates on to our continuation of our blocks. We might have Block D open again, and if Lauren will approve, we might actually get the camera down in the middle of the block and see what it looks like looking bottom up instead of top down. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time, and have a good afternoon.